Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing.
Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 436 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. What's going on out there? I'm glad you're here. You could be doing anything, and here you are hanging out with me for just a little bit, and I couldn't be happier about it. So thank you. All right, have you ever felt yourself spiraling into an ocean of anxiety or anger or fear or whatever strong, stubborn go-to emotion gets you worked up the most? And now you're lost in it, and everything in your world is now having to be seen through that lens of that emotion. So let's say your husband talks to you, and everything he says is having to filter through that emotion, whether it's anger or anxiety. In our most emotional states, we do have the power to control how we react to them. And a lot of times it doesn't happen by avoiding it or ignoring it. Quite the opposite, in fact. Instead of avoiding or ignoring it, it actually helps to get really, really curious about it. I have several big design projects going on right now, and in design, every little decision matters, and it usually involves a lot of money. So I take them each very seriously. Now, right now I have 2 big kitchen renovations that I'm working on. When someone involves me in their project, it's usually not going to be your standard kitchen. It's going to be fancy, you can imagine. So I spend a lot of time creating that space in my head and imagining what feel and look we want to create and how it's going to look once we're done. There's so much to it. Now we're coming down to making final decisions, and then we actually order. And when you're placing an order for, say, $100,000 worth of cabinets, you don't want to hope they're going to come in looking good. You have to know up front exactly how they're going to come in looking. The other morning I was having a good amount of anxiety, and so as I always do every morning, unless something dire happens, I proceeded to meditate and journal. Now, don't get me wrong, because I was kind of worked up a lot. I was a little bit anxious. My brain was telling me, you don't have time to meditate. You have things you've got to do, and it's not going to be good anyway, so let's just get right to work. But I make the rules in this head, and so we meditated anyway. And thank goodness. The meditation happened to be on big emotions. And during the guided meditation, Jeff, who is the guide, asked us to notice and single out any low level or big emotions we had going on in the moment. Now mine was easy. It was a low level heading towards big level anxiety. So once we identified the emotion, he had us get really curious about it, like you would a new guest at a party that you're throwing at your house. So my guest was anxiety, and he asked us to notice how the emotion feels and also to allow it to be there without any resistance. And once I did this, I noticed that me allowing it to be there instead of fighting it or ignoring it also allowed me to understand it a little bit more. I mean, why should I have anxiety when I know my projects always turn out beautifully and clients are always extremely happy? And then I realized, you know what? I agonize over every single decision. And when I feel a strong sense of anxiety over something, it usually means I'm not 100% certain about it. And until I'm 100% certain, I'm not going to pull the trigger, not unless it's something we could easily change or return. And in this case, the anxiety is coming from me not having used this product before. And so I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to look when it was complete. But it also wasn't returnable, so therefore the anxiety. Having worked all of this out in my brain, I realized that the answer is I have to see it in person before I would ever order it for a client. And so I talked to my contractor, and he arranged for us to go see the product in person before we order it. You see, my anxiety up front will save us from a meltdown on the back end. And if something comes in and doesn't look the way we want it, that is not good, especially if we can't return it. So we fix those things up front. At least I do, thanks in part to my little friend anxiety. I feel better already, and I haven't seen the product yet. You know why I feel better? It's because I know why my anxiety is there, and I also know that we will pivot if I don't like how it looks, even if it's uncomfortable to do so. I'll take a bit of anxiety on the front anytime if it keeps me from making big mistakes on the back end. Anxiety in this case is actually helping me in the long run. So how is your big emotion working in your favor? How can you allow it to be there without resisting it? And what is it trying to tell you? Maybe you're low level angry a lot. Can you get really curious about that anger? When you really allow the anger to be there and question, why it's there, maybe you realize you're angry at yourself more than anything because there are some things you need to be doing or not doing, and it's there to wake you up to that. Maybe your big emotion is fear. When you get really curious about it, you realize that the reason it's so big is you're focusing on all the bad things that could happen instead of the good things that could come from it. Remember, 85% of our worries never happen. Most of our biggest fears never come true. Our emotions are usually guiding us if we allow them. You're not anxious for nothing, right? There's something it's trying to tell you. Same thing with the other emotions. Pushing them away never allows us to see what they're trying to tell us. Getting lost in them doesn't help either, because at that point it's hard to think straight. Allowing and being curious shows yourself that it's okay to be feeling it, and then also allows you to see what it's trying to tell you about what you should or shouldn't be doing. My challenge to you this week is the next time you have a big emotion, be okay with feeling it. There's nothing wrong with you for having that. But then also get curious as to what it's trying to tell you. It may be guiding you towards a path that heads off bigger problems in the future. Get okay with feeling your emotions and get really curious as to what they're guiding you to do. So the next time your inner guidance system is throwing up red flags, when you're seeing those red flags, they aren't there for design. They're there for a reason. It's your work to find out what that is. Share this with 3 people who have big emotions. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.